Hey, I'm Patrick Stegall. I'm a criminal defense lawyer, specialized also in DUI defense. Today I want to talk about questions that I ask, things I want to know when I'm taking a DUI case. These are questions that I would ask you, and you may not be able to give me all the answers, but I want to hear from you. But these are things that I want to dig into as I'm working on the case, things that I want to get from law enforcement and from their records. First, and one of the most important questions is, why were you pulled over? Okay, the law requires that the police have reasonable suspicion that you have committed a crime in order to pull you over. Now, it can be as minor or as mundane as speeding, not having your seatbelt on, broken tail light, the little light that goes on your license plate, that tiny little light. You wouldn't believe how many people get pulled over and charged with DUI or other crimes just because of that little light being out. That's an actual law that says you've got to have that light working. So it can be a trivial reason, but it's got to be something valid. It's got to be something that would hold up in court. So I want to know, why were you pulled over? And we all know that they've got to have a reason to pull you over, but is that really a good reason? It may say so on paper, and we know also that they can manufacture reasons to pull you over. So I want to see if that's going to hold up in court. So why were you pulled over? Very important. Now, maybe you weren't even pulled over. Maybe this was an accident, either a single car, your car, you hit something, some object, or it was a two-car or more collision. In that case, you weren't pulled over, obviously. The police arrived to the accident scene. One thing leads to another, and now you've been charged with DUI. But I want to know about that also. Or maybe it was maybe not an accident, but you were in your vehicle and you weren't even driving, but you were approached by law enforcement, and now you found yourself charged with the DUI. So I want to know, why were you approached? What happened during that initial encounter? You may know that you don't have to actually be driving to be charged with driving under the influence. If you are in what they call control and operation of your vehicle, that can be enough. So it's very fact dependent. If you're sitting in the driver's seat, you got the key in the ignition, that's probably going to be enough. But there could be other situations, other circumstances. So if you weren't even driving your car, I want to know what was going on at the moment the police approached you. Did you take the field sobriety test? Field sobriety tests are very important. Now, they call them tests, but they're not really tests because it's not a pass or fail thing. You're going to fail, period. Nobody passes field sobriety tests. They don't want you to pass. They want you to take those tests just to observe you and get clues, okay? They're looking for clues. They're looking for evidence that they can use against you. And if you take a step wrong or hold your foot up not long enough, then that's considered a clue, and that's a check against you. These are standardized field sobriety tests. Way back when, the federal government, the Department of Transportation, put these tests together, and they made them standardized, which means they must be applied the same way each time. Law enforcement officers have to be instructed exactly in how to administer these tests. They out there on the side of the road, when you've been pulled over, they instruct you what they want you to do, and it's a very, very specific way which you have to be instructed. That's why they call them standardized, and if you weren't instructed properly, then that can raise into question the validity. That can make those tests invalid. So if they're saying that you failed the test and you gave all these clues but you weren't even instructed properly on them, then they can't use that against you. So I want to look into the field sobriety test, and hopefully they were recorded either on body camera or on the dashboard camera. We've got video recording as well as audio. We can see and hear what happened. All right, did you take a breath or a blood test? More and more jurisdictions are going straight to the blood test and getting a warrant. It's considered a search to stick a needle in your arm and draw blood. And in order to conduct that search, the police, if they don't have your permission, they can get a warrant. Okay, they can call the judge in the middle of the night and lay out some probable cause get a signed warrant back, and then they can take you. So you don't even have to consent to that, but they do have to have the warrant, and they've got to have probable cause backing it up. So I want to see that. Of course, I need to see the result of that test as well. If it's the old-fashioned breath test, also need to see the result and how that was handled. Were you observed properly before giving that breath sample? Is that machine in working order? Has it been certified? Has it been properly calibrated? These are all things that I need to look into. So if you find yourself charged with the crime of driving under the influence, give me a call and we're going to talk about this, and there's a lot more after that I'm going to need to dig into. Thanks for watching.